For decades, the story of the Karate Kid felt pretty simple, right? You had a heroic underdog, and he beats the bully, end of story. But then, in 2018, Cobra Kai dropped, and its very first episode did something, truly remarkable. It took this 34-year-old story that we all thought we knew inside and out, and just completely flipped it on its head. So today, we're going to break down exactly how they pulled off that magic trick. And really, the entire show, the whole shebang, it all boils down to this one simple but powerful question. What if the hero wasn't really the hero? What if the character we all cheered for wasn't the full picture? And even crazier, what if the villain we all booed actually had a point of view we never even thought to consider? That's the lens Cobra Kai hands us, and it forces us to see everything in a whole new light. All right, so here's our game plan. We'll start with how the show flips the script right out of the gate. Then we'll dive into the lives of our two big rivals, Daniel and Johnny. After that, we'll check out the new underdog story, see how nostalgia plays a huge part, and wrap it all up by asking that big question, who's the hero now and who's the villain? Okay, first up, flipping the original script. And honestly, the show doesn't waste any time. Right from the opening scene, its entire strategy is laid bare. It takes probably the most iconic moment from the entire 1984 movie, and it just dares you to see it in a way you never have before. Oh yeah, we all know this moment, right? You can probably hear the music in your head. Daniel LaRusso, hurt but full of heart, lands that absolutely legendary crane kick on his tormentor Johnny Lawrence. It is the ultimate feel-good underdog win. It's a moment that's just burned into pop culture as this pure, simple triumph of good over evil. But then, Cobra Kai kicks off with that exact same clip, and it reframes the whole thing, not as a victory, but as a soul-crushing, devastating loss. For Johnny Lawrence, see, this wasn't just the end of a karate tournament. Oh no, it was the start of a total downward spiral. That one kick became the anchor of his entire life's failure. It's a memory that has haunted him and basically stalled out his life for more than 30 years. So this clever little storytelling trick, it actually has a name. It's called re-contextualization. And it's brilliant because the show doesn't change the facts. The kick still happened in 1984, that's history. But what it does change is the context. It just shifts our point of view over to the guy who lost, and boom, the meaning changes. This one idea is really the engine driving the entire series. So that brings us to our tale of two rivals. Okay, so where did that single moment leave these two guys, 34 years down the road? Well, the show is absolutely masterful at setting up this huge contrast between their lives, really showing us the ripple effects of that one single fight. And while the difference could not be more night and day. Johnny is a complete mess. He's basically a walking fossil from the 80s. His car, his music, his whole attitude. He's just drowning in regret. Meanwhile, Daniel LaRusso is the poster boy for success. He's rich, he's got a family, and get this, he's built his entire car dealership empire around that one karate victory. His face is on billboards with these cheesy karate poses, which means he's constantly and very publicly rubbing Johnny's nose in the worst moment of his life. Ouch. So now we have this new underdog story. And right when you're starting to really feel for Johnny, the plot just kicks into overdrive. And it does this by basically copying the structure of the original movie, but with one heck of a twist. You get this feeling that history is about to repeat itself. And here's how that underdog cycle starts all over again. First, you've got a new target. This kid Miguel is getting pushed around by bullies. Sound familiar? Just like Daniel was. But here's the twist. Who steps in to save the day? It's not some wise, patient sensei like Mr. Miyagi. Nope. It's a cranky, reluctant, totally washed up Johnny Lawrence. And in that moment, defending this kid, Johnny suddenly remembers the one thing in his life that ever made him feel strong, that gave him purpose, and that was Cobra Kai karate. But the real final push, the thing that really lights the fuse, it actually comes from Daniel. Johnny's car gets towed to Daniel's dealership of all places. And Daniel, seeing him so down on his luck, just can't help himself. He throws a few little condescending jabs his way. And that humiliation, that's the spark. It reignites that old fire in Johnny's belly and makes him think, you know what? The world needs Cobra Kai back. Okay, let's talk about nostalgia as a launching pad. Now, look, a show like this could so easily just become a cheap nostalgia fest, right? Just a bunch of, hey, remember this moments? But Cobra Kai is way, way smarter than that. It uses our collective memory of the past for a very specific and very modern reason. And this quote just nails it. The series uses the past as a launching pad, not a cage. Think about that. The show isn't stuck in 1984. It's using what we all remember as the solid ground to build something brand new. The past is always there, it's always informing the present, but it never, ever limits where the story can go. So here's the key takeaway. All the nostalgia in the show has a purpose. That killer 80s rock soundtrack, yeah, gets you pumped, but it also tells you Johnny is living in a time warp. His beloved Firebird, his ancient flip phone, those aren't just cool retro props. They're symbols that show us this guy is completely stuck, unable to move on. Every bit of nostalgia serves the characters and the story, not just a cheap wink to the audience. Which brings us to our final question. Hero, villain, or both? So all of this, flipping the script, using nostalgia with a purpose, it all leads to the biggest and I think most important point. By adding all this complexity, the show creates something that feels so right for right now. It really resonates with modern audiences. Think about it. The simple black and white good versus evil story of the 80s was great for its time. But this messy, gray area is why the show feels so incredibly fresh today. It works because it reflects how we see the world now. A more mature view where just because you're successful doesn't mean you're a good person, and just because you made mistakes doesn't make you a monster for life. Johnny is so flawed. Sometimes he's downright offensive, but we find ourselves rooting for him because we see him trying to be better. And Daniel, our supposed hero, has gotten a little smug, right? A little out of touch because of his success. The show just gets that life is complicated, and man, that's a story we are hungry for. And that's the brilliant cliffhanger the first episode leaves us on. It takes everything we assumed was true and just blows it up, forcing us to rethink it all. It gives us our childhood hero as a successful guy who's maybe kind of lost his way, and the villain as this down-and-out dude desperately trying to find a little redemption. So the question isn't just about who was right in 1984 anymore. It's about who we should be rooting for now. After all this time, who is the real underdog?